The Club Part 2 tries to answer all the questions the audience wondered about after Part 1. The first part ended with Ra'el leaving for Israel with Mordo. Her sad eyes staring afar created a sense of doubt regarding her decision. The audience was also left to wonder about the situation of Orhan, a Greek Christian who lived as a Turkish Muslim. Lastly, Çelebi's intent with Matilda, an ex-employee of Matilda's father, who seemed to have tender emotion for her. In the Part 1 explainer, we analyzed the series and also predicted the depiction of the Istanbul pogrom in Part 2. The series does that and does so beautifully, making it one of the most well-executed episodes of the series. What happens after Part 1? While The Club is brilliant as a period drama with exceptional set design, artistic usage of light and color, and a stunning performance from the vast cast, it also depicts emotions beautifully. Especially in The Club Part 2, that takes us a few months forward. A visibly pregnant Ra'el now lives with her mother, Matilda, and Selim, indicating that she could not leave for Israel with Mordo, and instead chose to stay with her mother. Now a popular headliner, Selim returns from his holiday in Paris with numerous gifts for his loved ones. For Ra'el's unborn child, Selim got everything in yellow, saying that the baby must choose their preference. Until then, a neutral yellow was the best way to go. The pubs and nightclubs of Paris stirred Selim's creativity, and he was determined to be exceptionally good in his art. Though his dreams and hopes were shattered once Orhan advised him to be normal. The word normal took Selim back to his past, when his father would beat him to be normal. He refused to compromise and decided to give up. This was when Çelebi blackmailed him. He exposed Matilda's truth and explained how that could affect his reputation. With enough alcohol to make the night blurry, Selim performed in a black tuxedo with male musicians, unlike his usual glamour, and a team of women dancers. His performance at the Entrepreneur of the Year award ceremony was well received, and Orhan also managed to win the award. Meanwhile, Orhan's mother, whose schizophrenia got worse with time, spoke only in Greek. This scared Orhan, and he knew that the truth would not only harm his business, but also his existence. He fed her medicines to keep her calm and sleepy most of the time, but one day she threw up the medicine after Orhan left. Unfortunately, on that very day, an ex-maid of Orhan came to his house in search of a recommendation letter for her new employment. She heard the screams of Orhan's mother and entered the house. The frantic mother yelled and screamed, and in the process, she pushed the maid. The maid fell from the stairs and was physically injured. When Orhan returned home, he saw the mother sitting beside the deceased maid, saying that she killed the woman as she was harmful. Orhan knew that the situation was getting out of his hand. Did the mother-daughter reunite? In the second half of the series, the mother-daughter relationship is restored. Matilda supported her daughter in every way possible, making sure to provide her comfort. Though the happiness is short-lived, Ra'el despises her mother after learning that Matilda killed her father. On the night of the award ceremony, Matilda and Selim talked about Matilda's past. Selim disclosed that the reason for his compliance to perform was to save Matilda from any dishonor. Ra'el overheard this conversation. She learned that the person who betrayed Matilda's family was her father. Ra'el decided to leave and appeared at the door of İsmet's house. Ra'el had met İsmet once in between. It was only then that he became aware of her pregnancy and that he was the father of the unborn child. İsmet supported Ra'el after knowing the truth of her mother. İsmet's mother and Ra'el started growing a fond relationship. Even though he loved her, he was unsure of the father he would be to his child. Owing to his father's terrible image, he doubted his presence in the child's life. He tried to make things work, but his past haunted him. We learn that İsmet, in his childhood days, was exposed to his father's infidelity. This was a traumatic experience for him, leading to him hating his father for life. Matilda tried to explain to Ra'el that İsmet would never really be by her side, and she spoke from her experience. Ra'el refused to believe her mother. She insulted Matilda for murdering her father and leaving her at an orphanage. She was repulsed by Matilda's self-centeredness and believed that she would find happiness in the arms of her lover. İsmet finally decided to marry Ra'el, though his decision was not out of love, but rather out of duty. Rael could feel Ismet's detachment, and she decided to leave him, refusing to accept the ill treatment and negligence. What was Çelebi and Matilda's history? The club part 1 of the series left us wondering what might be the reason for Çelebi's presence in the life of Matilda. Even though Orhan left the backstage responsibilities with Matilda, Çelebi found his way back to trouble Matilda. The growing political influence at the Club Istanbul was a primary reason for it. People who represented the escalating hate towards non-Muslims were on the lookout to take over the club. The Club Istanbul was profitable and also a place of employment for Turkish Muslims. Though the men had their doubts regarding Orhan was less visible at the club due to his mother's trouble. The men of political influence started a background search on Orhan's history, leading to an unfavorable outcome. Çelebi became a man of interest for these men as he was always present at the club and knew the details of its functioning. He was given a considerable sum of money to be a part of their plan, but he eventually decided against it. The reason was Matilda, as she doubted his intent and confronted him. Çelebi explained the reason for his past action. He explained that he was never a sympathizer of Mumtaz, he instead was in love with Matilda from a young age. Çelebi tried to warn Matilda in the past, but Mumtaz returned his letter and framed him for theft. Matilda was utterly unaware of the existence of such a letter and was shocked to learn the truth. Çelebi was hurt when Matilda could not recognize him at the police station, and it was then that he decided to show her his worth. He wanted to be more than the tea guy that he used to be at Matilda's house. The club and his influence there was a way to be respectable in the eyes of Matilda. Matilda understood Çelebi's situation and was sympathetic to it as well. Meanwhile, Matilda's brother, who was sent to a labor camp, returns after noticing a picture of her in the Club Istanbul article. He requested her to come along with him to the United States to start a new beginning. Matilda was left confused. Ending explained. The last episode started with the spread of the fake news of the Greeks bombing the Turkish consulate in Thessaloniki, Macedonia. It was symbolic as it was the house where Mustafa Kemal Ataturk was born. Men were specifically brought to instigate hate upon the Greeks. Shops were broken and ransacked. Hate speech started spreading further, leading to hostility. Amidst all the chaos wandered a lost Rael. She left Izmit and was on her way to meet her mother when the mob started attacking. There was a particular shot that conveyed the disbelief in Rael's eyes. She stared at the hate and hurt caused by humanity while carrying a child whose father was a Muslim and mother was a Jew. While the society was at war, Rael represented the possible union and love shared between the communities. Meanwhile, Izmit left his house in search of Rael, but was beaten by men employed by his father, as he was not supportive of the cause. Matilda searched for her daughter while the streets were lit up with fire. Orhan went to pay a visit to his mother, whom he kept in a secret underground room. He was greeted by a man from the political party, who knew his secret. Orhan tried to hold his calm as the man referred to him as a slave of the Turkish land. He was kept at gunpoint. Just when the man was about to shoot, Orhan's mother struck the man's head from behind, leading to his death. Orhan embraced his mother, as she explained that she could do all that it takes to protect her son. Orhan grabs hold of her throat and chokes her to death. He was left emotional and hateful, but he knew that it was the best way for his mother to die, considering the attacks that were going on outside. Orhan knew his secrets would never stay hidden. He lit the room on fire and waited for his death. Matilda found Rael in the streets and reached her to help. The mother-daughter was finally reunited. Izmit also found Rael at the same time, but she chose to go along with her mother, knowing the uncertainty that lay with Izmit. Matilda banged the doors of Club Istanbul to keep her daughter safe and to help her deliver the baby. As Çelebi opened the doors to help Matilda, several fearful Greeks entered the club as well. The club became a safe space for the minority amidst the chaos that was going on outside. Rael successfully gives birth to her baby on the stage of Club Istanbul. Matilda embraced Çelebi for all his help, leaving him startled and emotional. The series ends with all the club members seated at a long table, sharing food and wine. The table signified the union of communities that transcended the hate that was spread outside. Matilda's brother came in to ask if she would come along with him to the United States. She refused his proposal as her family was in Istanbul. The audience is shown the baby's face accompanied by the child's voice when she grows up. She said that even though her mother, Ra-El, refuses to believe her as she was a child just born, she remembered all the faces staring at her with excitement and love when she was born. The only person she does not remember seeing was her father. This is when we see Ismet, who lost his love for self-doubt, collapse on the dead and injured men who lay on the street. The Club Part 2 delivers all that it promised. From the clarity of the relations to the complexity of human emotions, it is an excellent tale of love, compassion, and a shameful past of human history. The Club Season 3 release date. The Club Season 2 premiered in its entirety on January 6, 2022, on Netflix. The second season comprises 4 episodes with a runtime of 45 to 54 minutes each. As far as a second round is concerned, here's what we know. Netflix and creator Zeynep Güneytan reportedly conceived the club as a 2-season series. Thus, a third season currently does not seem to be a part of the plan. However, it is not an indication that the third installment of the show will never get made. There are numerous examples of shows which received orders for more seasons than the initially planned number of installments, which can also be the case with this series in the future. As per reports, the Turkish drama is one of the most watched Netflix shows in the home country. Therefore, the incredible viewership figures may influence the streaming platform to modify the originally planned 2-season structure and greenlight an additional season at the least. Taking into account Netflix's efforts to increase their Turkish original content, a renewal of the series is indeed a possibility. If renewed soon, we can expect the Club Season 3 to release sometime in Q4 2022. The Club Season 3 plot. What can it be about? The show's second season ends with the Turkish nationalists inciting riots in Istanbul. They attack Zero Smet and destroy his beloved car. Amid the riots, Ra-El searches for a safe abode. Meanwhile, Matilda directs Selim to look after the club and the inmates before she takes off to find Ra-El. Orhan kills his mother to protect his secret. Matilda finds the pregnant Ra-El in the middle of the rioters. When Matilda knocks on the door of the nightclub for safety, Hassan restricts Selim. However, they succeed in entering the club with the help of Çelebi, and Ra-El gives birth to her baby. Matilda receives an offer to go to the States, but she rejects it. If renewed, the third season may follow the aftermath of the riots, especially the lives of those who survive. We may see a contented Matilda upon the birth of Ra-El's newborn and the safety of her family that also comprises the nightclub workers. We may see Orhan's new direction in life, given how he is hellbent on protecting his secret. Zero Smet may have to decide upon his future after the harm the rioters do to him. We can also expect to see how Çelebi and Matilda's lives, which are entwined with the club, will move forward. Is the club a true story? Yes, the club is based on a true story. The story of Matilda and her life in Club Istanbul amid the tensions and unrests of the 1950s is based on real lives and incidents. The characterization of Matilda is influenced by a real-life seamstress who was a significant part of the nightclubs and cultural activities that governed the social life of Istanbul in the 50s. With the influence of the West, the nightclubs and other social establishments flourished in Istanbul in the 50s, but the glamorous appeal was limited to its external appearance. The exploitation of labor was a common story among the seamstresses and other artists working in those clubs. Matilda and the extended family she chooses, who bind together against the hardships faced in Club Istanbul, were a reality in the distant past of Istanbul. Matilda's struggles and the strong will she displays to fight the adversities as a single Jewish mother also pays homage to all the resilient women who battled life to survive amid the cruelties of the wealthy class of Istanbul in the 50s. Set in 1955, the show depicts the Istanbul societies of the time in great detail. As the middle ground of Eastern and Western civilizations, the cultural sphere of Istanbul in the 1950s witnessed many tempestuous events and incidents. The religious and racial riots and attacks on minorities, fueled with the conflicting moralities of both cultures, dictated the atmosphere of Turkey's cultural capital as seen in the show. Artists like Selim in the series have witnessed and tried to resist the calamities of this culture and morality shock. With a highly commendable characterization, Selim is an integral part of Club Istanbul in the club, and is a fitting reminder of the artists of the past who were present in the center of Istanbul's cultural disputes. On the other hand, Matilda's manager Orhan and boss Çelebi represent the egoistical upper class of the times. With no human compassion and regard towards their workers and subordinates, Orhan and Çelebi are seemingly true to life with respect to the class struggle in Turkey.